Everything matters. How we wake up, how we dress, how we eat, how we meet, how we train, how we practice, how we rehab, how we recover, how we treat one another, how we treat everyone.
Second half, that's our style. That's what we represent. Showing that fight, showing your urgency, showing the effort and the technique and the violence that we stand for, guys.
Welcome to Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh. Here's your host, Eric Allen.
Welcome to Jets Game Day. Eric Allen here inside the studio with Bart Scott, the Mad Backer. And today we're also joined by Brian Baldinger. Baldy, great to see you. Bart, let's start right here. Jets on a 4-game losing streak, but they still are alive after a weekend where they got a lot of favorable outcomes.
And listen, you can only ask to have favorable outcomes for so far. The Jets have to take care of their business. The dominoes fell their way, but if they don't take care of their business in Seattle, which is a tough place to play, and a team in a similar situation fighting for their playoff lives, a team that's built similarly, Saleh goes back to the man that taught him a lot of his tricks. Let's see if the teacher can be beaten by the student.
Baldy, we use the phrase must win a little bit too much, but today, in Seattle, in the Pacific Northwest, Jets Seahawks, can't you say this is a must-win for both teams?
There's no more tomorrows, EA. There's just no more tomorrows. I mean, this is it. You got to flush whatever happened over the last month out. You got to concentrate on the business. And so I've seen, teams go up to Seattle and win this year. They're not unbeatable. I just saw them last week against Kansas City. They're a little bit of a flawed team, like a lot of these teams that are on the outside looking in right now. So he's going up there and take care of business. It'd be good if the defense took the ball away a few more times and helped the offense out some in this game.
Bart, I don't think the short week, of course, helped the Jets before their game against the Jaguars, but how about what 10 days possibly can do for them, having that weekend off and then resetting here as they prepared for this game?
Well, it gave them an opportunity to self-scout to see how they can be better. With the addition of Mike White, it should improve the run game because teams were daring the Jets to beat them on the outside, and it proved that wasn't something that they can do. Now with Mike White coming back, now the safeties have to play a little bit more respectful. You talk about the timing routes, the ball coming out of their hands in a timely fashion. Then it should open up the run game. They're going to have balance. They're going to have to win on first and second down. That's always the recipe for success, especially when you're playing in a hostile environment that's going to be loud, hard to hear. You got to make sure that you don't have procedural problems. They have to play a clean game. They're going to have to make sure that they run the football effectively, and they're going to have to pack their defense and create short fields. Geno Smith is a very accurate quarterback, one of the best in the game, got his first Pro Bowl nod. He's playing with a lot of confidence, and this one is special to him because he started his career with the New York Jets.
Coming up, we'll go one-on-one with Jets head coach Robert Saleh, but first, here's Cynthia Freeland.
It's time for Maximum Altitude with Cynthia Freeland, presented by NFL All Day.
The Jets' elite defense has allowed just 7.8 yards per attempt on passes of 10-plus air yards this season, and just a 39% completion percentage, both the best marks in the NFL. We've talked a lot about rookie corner sensation and probable defensive rookie of the year, Sauce Gardner, but his fellow corner, fifth-year vet DJ Reed, may be one of the very best free agent acquisitions from last offseason, and the impact the duo has on opposing offenses is undeniable. DJ Reed is having a breakout season. Next Gen Stats shows that Reed has been the nearest defender in coverage on 70 targets this season and has allowed just 5.2 yards per attempt, ranking third best, which is largely driven by his 1.7 yards after the catch allowed per reception, which ranks lowest, aka best, among defensive backs who have faced at least 50 such targets. Reed typically plays on the defensive left, with Sauce on the defensive right, and little shadowing occurs, meaning when wideouts get shut down, it's the whole group's production, not just one player. In fact, Gardner has also faced exactly 70 targets as the nearest defender in coverage, and has allowed just 5.5 yards per attempt, which ranks tied for 7th best, which means there's really no safe place for quarterbacks to target. The Jets have deployed zone defense on more than 70% of snaps this season, and I interpret Reed's positive results as a combination of being in the right system, alignments, and assignments that suit his skills more than any year in his past. But what's especially interesting this week, when the former Seahawk Reed faces the former Jet quarterback Geno Smith, is a battle of downfield passes. These 10-plus air yard attempts have resulted in 25 passing touchdowns for Geno Smith, which is the most in the NFL. But like I started with, the Jets are the best at shutting them down. Let's see what happens in Seattle.
Stay tuned. Eric Allen sits down with head coach Robert Saleh after this. Now, time for Inside the Walls, presented by Microsoft Surface.
Can you take me through the series of events? You guys lose to Jacksonville on Thursday night, then you go home for the weekend. What was Sunday like when you saw all those scores coming in?
You know, I still stand by what we talked about after that Jacksonville game in terms of, you know, it's not about the playoffs. It's a bigger thing right now. You know, we're kind of down on the mat. We got to be able to pick ourselves up, and we can't really think about the playoffs until we stand back up and dust ourselves off and get back to work. We've been battling. That I won't ever take away from our guys, but now we got to find a way to get back on the winning side.
What are Mike White's best attributes, and what are you hoping he can provide the offense as he returns to the lineup?
He just needs to be him. You know, he's really good within timing and rhythm of the play, getting the ball where it needs to get to. He'll push it downfield if he has to. He'll take checkdowns if you give it to him, and you know, he just does a really good job running the offense. And you know, we've got a good group of skill guys. We got good backs. Got an O-line that's fighting its tail off. They just got to try to find a way to piece it together for a couple games and see what happens.
You mentioned it the other day. Can you talk about his career arc and what maybe others can learn from it in terms of his persistence throughout all this?
Yeah, I think more often than not, you know, we get lost in the anomalies of football. We get lost in the Joe Burrows, the Mahomes, all the Garrett Wilsons and the Sauce Gardners who strike a match and they're on fire already. I'd say 95% of the league took time. Took a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to find their stride. And you get to look at a guy like Quincy Williams on our team, who Jacksonville gave up on, and young man's playing good football for us. And you know, and you look at a guy who we're about to play, Geno Smith, who's kind of bounced around but has kind of found his niche. And so it takes time. So you look at a guy like Mike White, who started in Dallas and gets cut from Dallas. He gets claimed here and he gets cut 3 or 4 times or whatever it was here. And we come in and, you know, he's done a really nice job just continuing to keep his head down, continue to work, and take the coaching that has been provided to him by Rob and Mike LaFleur, and he's doing a really nice job. And people forget he's only started, 7 games or something like that. So he's still a pup in terms of just overall play.
Speaking of pups, Pete Carroll, he always has a childlike exuberance about him. What has he meant to you throughout the years?
You know, you know, when we were all let go in Houston, just needed a job, and probably the luckiest thing that ever happened to me as a 30-year-old or however old I was, married, we had 1 child, 3 months old, to go there and to learn so much about myself, not even just aside from the game of football, because there was a lot of learning from a football standpoint, but to learn about myself because of the things that he challenged us on from a character standpoint as individuals. How are we developing ourselves as coaches? He was instrumental in all of it, and very thankful for him.
How do they attack you offensively? It seems like they got Kenneth Walker going again last week, and they got dynamic threats on the outside with DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett might be back in the lineup.
Yeah, they've done a great job with the talent level on that team. Obviously, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, if he gets back, running back Kenneth Walker, Michigan State.
Yep.
Go Green. But they're extremely talented, very fast, very, very fast. Marquise Goodwin, very, very fast group, and you know, their O-line is young. They've invested a lot in their O-line over the past year, and they're playing with a lot of continuity. And then Geno just looks rejuvenated. He's getting the ball to his athletes, and they're making a lot of plays for him.
Do you see similarities and parallels when you look at these two teams? How about the draft classes in 2022 and the contributions both squads are getting?
Yeah, young teams. Made, you know, Seattle, obviously they, you know, different that we're building. They kind of restarted, and so you kind of put yourselves in the same in the mold, and you look at them. They're very young at very key spots, and they play with a lot of juice, a lot of energy, and they play fast. They're, you know, physical. It does feel like we're looking in the mirror.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
After the break, we're back in the studio talking Jets football, and Brian Baldinger will break down tape on the Seahawks. Don't go away. Jets Game Day with Robert Saleh is brought to you by MetLife, the official insurance company of the New York Jets.
Welcome back to Jets Game Day. Eric Allen with Bart Scott and Brian Baldinger. Bart, what do you think about Mike White returning to the lineup in the Pacific Northwest as the Jets look for victory against the Seahawks?
I mean, I think it brings back the time and the rhythm of the offense, right? This rhythm comes in the West Coast offense. It's all about rhythm, time, and getting the ball out, pre-snap recognition, and making the cornerbacks respect the accuracy of the quarterback. It's all about accuracy. It's not about arm strength and pushing the ball down the field. It's about using the field and widening the field, utilizing all 53 yards. And I think that's what Mike White brings to this offense, which then means that safeties have to play high. That means you get a light box, and you improve the running game, which puts the offense on time. So I think it's something that's much needed within this offense, and the time is now. It's no time to waste. And Mike White understands the gravity of the situation. It's a must-win situation, but it's also a must-win for Mike White. Mike White has played at a great level, but he needs to show that he can win when it's a must-win. See if he can show up and show up.
Baldy, the Jets need a spark. Can Mike White provide it?
It looks like it. He's got to stay healthy. It's been an issue for 2 years in a row now, but he certainly can make all the throws. It looks like he knows exactly what he's looking at defensively and what they're going to do. Seattle is not very complicated defensively, but in that game against Chicago and even in Minnesota, I mean, he's getting the ball to his receivers, and that's what they got to do. They got to get the ball to Garrett, into Elijah, into Corey. I mean, he's got to get the ball down the field to the receivers. That's what you have to do in this business right now. And the running game, can set a lot of that stuff up, but he's going to have to make 4 or 5 throws that are going to be really key. And you put the ball in those playmakers I just mentioned, good things can happen.
Garrett Wilson's going to reach 1,000 yards today, Bart, for the season. He's been so impressive throughout his rookie campaign. But to Baldy's point, what do the Jets have to do to get the run game going?
I mean, oddly enough, it's to improve the passing game, right? Because I feel like defenses and teams were putting the 8th man in the box and daring them to beat them on the outside. You may have to loosen this Seattle defense up first by showing that you can win on the outside. You think about Tariq Woolen, he's their version of Sauce. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a candidate for Rookie of the Year. He has tremendous defense radius because of his height, his speed, his pure size. You got to prove that, hey, he can't just take away one side of the football field. If they do decide to go that way, that means that Corey Davis or Elijah Moore is going to have to step up and make them pay the price by trying to play that way. So that's the important part. They got to get the passing game going to make them to be able to get the run game going. So they may have to start opposite, throwing the ball to loosen up the run.
All right, let's go into the film room right now with our mad scientist, Brian Baldinger.
This is Baldy's Breakdown.
In Mike White's first start against Chicago this year, he lit up the Bears defense, and he got the ball to the playmakers down the field. Like, this is to Garrett Wilson in the middle of the field. And he gives Garrett Wilson a chance after the completion to turn it into a 54-yard touchdown. One of the best plays of the season for the Jets. But he also got the ball to Elijah Moore as well. He had a great game. And right here in the middle of the field, this is a great throw. Great throw, bracket coverage right here, safety over the top, squeeze it in, and then Elijah Moore used his ability to break away from the Bears. I mean, this is what Seattle's going to have to contend with. And if you watch Mike White here, from behind his offensive line, he's very, very sure what he's looking at, and then the delivery is just spot on. Like, that's a tough throw against man coverage with the safety Eddie Jackson over the top, and Elijah Moore went for 42 yards. Now, when they see this Seattle defense, they're going to look at a great young player down at the bottom, Tariq Woolen. All right, he's got maybe the best speed of any corner. So even when Watson is behind him, like right here, he could have easily had his league-leading 7th interception of the year. As it stands, he's got 6. And then anytime you're playing Seattle, you have to pay attention to where their safety is, Quandre Diggs. He's a playmaker. He's got ball skills. He's a hitter. And so here comes Devontae Adams right here on a deep over route, and Quandre Diggs takes it away from him. You've got to be alert and aware of where Quandre is, because he can match up, as you see him at the top of your screen right here. He can match up, and then he just understands formations, route combinations, and even when Devontae's late on the ball right here, he makes a great play picking it off.
fill up your cups. The morning tea is coming up next, followed by final thoughts on today's matchup with the Seahawks.
Happy New Year,
Happy
Ethan.
New Year, Caroline.
Okay, so today we might get to see the Offensive Rookie of the Year and the Defensive Rookie of the Year on the field at the same time.
Well, the Jets and the Seahawks have two fantastic rookie classes. And for the Jets, we've talked a lot about Sauce Gardner, Pro Bowl cornerback.
Yep.
Sauce Gardner, who leads the NFL with 16 pass defenses. Well, for the Seahawks, also a cornerback, another Pro Bowl rookie, Tariq Woolen, drafted in the 5th round. He's tied for the NFL lead with 6 interceptions. And since we're on the rookie theme, he could be seeing a lot of Garrett Wilson today.
Going off that same theme, Pro Bowl alternate Garrett Wilson is only 4 yards shy of 1,000 receiving yards, and he'd be the first Jets rookie to do so in franchise history. So he's making a great case for the Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then on the flip side of the ball, running back Kenneth Walker for the Seahawks, same thing for him.
We were just talking about Tariq Woolen. How about a former Seahawks secondary member and now a New York Jet, DJ Reed, another Pro Bowl alternate. This game's going to mean a lot to him, going back to the place where he really got a chance on the outside in terms of the secondary. You know that he has this game circled on his calendar.
Well, 2 guys that are now on the Jets who are also going back to old stomping grounds, George Fant and Dwayne Brown. And Dwayne Brown told me earlier this week that they're ready to focus and lock in and try and get that run game back to where it was earlier this season.
Well, I have a good stat for you then, because the Seahawks, in each of their last 3 home games, have allowed an average of 150 yards per game on the ground, which of course bodes well for Zonovan Van Knight, Michael Carter, Ty Johnson, and the rest of the running backs.
I like that stat quite a bit.
And that's the T.
That's the T.
This segment is brought to you by HCL Tech, supercharging progress.
That was a good tea from Caroline and Ethan, but I'm ready for some Seattle coffee. It's the Jets and the Seahawks today. Bart, let's take a look at the green and white's path to the postseason. It's really clear now. They got to win their next 2 games. They need the Patriots to lose or tie today against the Dolphins or next week against the Buffalo Bills.
I mean, listen, we knew it would come down to the finish, and that's what I appreciate about the schedule makers is the fact that they make those last games divisional opponents. And even if they were in, just to make sure that the Patriots wouldn't have an opportunity to get in, I'm sure Buffalo would play their stars and play hard. So now when you look at the situation, the Jets have to take care of their business. They need a little help, but it's looking like it's likely. But the hardest part is taking care of your part of the schedule and taking care of your business, which is winning 2 in a row, which is going to be difficult.
Baldy, this is going to be a great day of football watching for all of Jets Nation because the Jets fan base is going to be in a likely position of rooting for the Miami Dolphins this afternoon against the Patriots.
That's okay. That's all right. I mean, scoreboard watching it happens this time of the year. Fans, are going to be rooting for their teams and all the scenarios out there that have to take place for the Jets, to still have a chance for the playoffs. But ultimately, the Jets have to, come out of the locker room and take care of business. I mean, it's been a long time. They need to take care of business, have a nice 6-hour flight home and a win, 500, and then they can, keep talking about possible scenarios. But that's all right for the Jet fans. You want to root for your team. That means you got to root for the things that have to go right, like they did last week, for your team to have a chance.
Bart, what storyline do you like the best here today? You got Mike White returning to the starting lineup. Then you have Tariq Woolen, the impressive rookie cornerback from the Seattle Seahawks, who's got 6 interceptions. The Jets will counter with the Pro Bowl cornerback themselves in Sauce Gardner. Then you have Geno Smith facing the Jets.
I mean, I'm going to go with, before you said that, I was just about to go with Tariq Woolen and Sauce Gardner because everybody knows I'm from the 3-1-3 as well. And I know that Tariq Woolen was going to try and make a statement to prove that he should be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. Sauce is going to have to step up to make sure that he secures it. But, I mean, the story of Geno is the most unlikely one, right? We've seen corners come in and take the league by storm. J.C. Horn last year was an outstanding rookie. We look at Patrick Surtain was an outstanding rookie. But we rarely see a journeyman in his 8 years or 7 years of not starting come back and look like he's a franchise quarterback. We all root and cheer for Geno Smith, but not on Sunday. And we're going to have to make sure that we take care of business and make him have his worst performance of the year.
Great job by Bart Scott and Brian Baldinger today. Will the Jets keep their playoff hopes alive in Seattle? We're about to find out.